Welcome to the next exciting episode. This one is 3.7 Squares and Square Roots. Please write that down as the title on the left-hand side of your page. Now we're going to talk about square numbers. Now square numbers are called square numbers because you can make a square out of that number using smaller squares. For example, I can make a large square out of 9 small squares. Now these are called square numbers, so this 3 times 3 by 3. Please write that down. You no need to draw the picture, just write down the definition, please. Now I can't make a larger square out of 10 small squares, so there's only certain numbers that I can make perfect squares out of. So they're called square numbers. Multiplying a number by itself gives you a square number. So for example, 2 times 2 is 4 and 3 times 3 equals 9. These are called square numbers. You can see that 16 and 1 are also square numbers. So do you also remember when we did powers? So 2 squared equals 4 and 3 squared equals 9. So it's all the square numbers, the ones with the little index of 2, so they're all the square numbers. So I want you to try and work out the square numbers of these ones. Well, I've already basically told you the answers for these ones. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, and you can see by the number of squares there. 3 times 3, so we've got 9. 4 times 4 is 16. And we could keep going. Alright, you can see on this multiplication table that the ones highlighted in blue are all the square numbers. So these are all the square numbers, the ones highlighted in blue. Right, we know 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16. But can you work out the next 6 square numbers up to 10 squared? This should say 10 squared here. So cross it out, that should say 10 squared. Can you please pause the video and write down the square numbers up to 10 squared, please? Okay, hopefully these are the ones that you got. So just check your numbers. Check that you wrote all these out. And if you didn't, fix up the ones that you got incorrect and make sure that you have written down what's on this page. Now that was square numbers, so we need to use our knowledge of square numbers and powers to understand square roots. So square root of a number is the factor that when multiplied by itself gives the square number. So 8 times 8 is 64. The square root of 64 is 8. So it's just working it back the other way. Now when we're writing the symbol for square root, if you see this symbol, I'm going to write it for you so you can see how to write it. It's just like a little tick, the line across the top. So that's the symbol for square root. And in maths we write square roots as this. So we would have 64 here. So the square root of 64 equals 8. So can you please write that down? Alright, so what is the square root of 25? So what number multiplied by itself equals 25? Hopefully you've already worked out that it is 5. $49. So which number multiplied by itself equals 49. Now this is where your knowledge of multiplication tables comes in, otherwise you need to grab a multiplication table chart to help you. So the square root of 49 is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Right, so you may be asked to evaluate square roots in different ways. So 8 squared is 64. So 8 times 8 is 64. And 12 squared, 12 times 12 is 144. So that's all you need to do when you're asked to evaluate squares. Now also when evaluating square roots you may come up with expressions involving square roots and powers. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Can you please write this down? I haven't put the symbol on the page, but I really need you to write this down as an example. That would be great. So we've got 3 squared minus the square root of 9 plus 1 squared. Now as always we're putting our equal sign. Now we need to work out the answers for this. So 3 times 3, 3 3s are 9, minus the square root of 9, so what multiplied by itself equals 9, and that's 3, plus 1 times 1, well that equals 1. So we're still using the rules of BOMDAS here, and in this case it doesn't matter because haven't got any multiplication or division, so it's just left to right. You work it out left to right. So 9 take away 3 is 6 plus 1, and that equals 7. Alright, now also evaluating square roots, you may come up with some thing that looks like this. So this is the square root of 8 squared and 6 squared. So we work this out by doing 8 squared, so 8 times 8 is 64. So we're still putting the square root symbol here. So the square root of 64 plus 6 sixes are 36. Equals, see, then we're adding these together. So the square root of 100, and what multiplied by itself equals 100, and that is 10. Alright, can you please write that example down as well? Good luck working on your questions for square roots.